In an article written in the year 2000, now over 20 years ago, Clayton Christensen, who had written The Innovator's Dilemma, does a great job of calling out that a company's outputs are the results of three things. So first, its resources, two, its systems, and three, the company's priorities. All of what Goldratt has written here is about establishing a common system that helps establish priorities and understand what resources are needed. And I call out Christensen's article because frankly, it does a better job of summarizing these three components than we get here in this 40th and final chapter of Goldratt's The Goal. The chapter opens with Lou and Rogo driving back from having gone to go visit one of the other plants that are going to be in Rogo's new division. There are the usual jabs that this is what Hilton Smythe, again, the closest thing we have to a bad guy in the entire series. His plant's not being run right, of course. But they have this kind of philosophical conversation, and three quotes, I think, really summarize it. Don't you realize that the attitude in engineering, claiming that the basic rule of nature is that a project never finishes on time, is an even bigger problem? That's true. Second quote. And what about marketing? Have you seen any marketing plan that has any chance of turning the situation around? Also true. But the one that I've liked to quote pretty often is this one that he says, just the lack of a sensible long-term strategy, the measurement issues, the lag in product design, the long lead times in production, the general attitude of passing the ball, of apathy, are all connected. And I always think that when you're going through a process like what Rogo has been through here, it's all about creating connections. And that's the great thing about the theory of constraints, is that it draws this path of connections and it causes you to form a diagram or an understanding of product flow, of project flow, and even of the flow of all the systems in a plant and how they all work together. The chapter has kind of two settings. There's the setting in the car, then Rogo kind of sleeps off the evening, and then they go back in and talk about it more the next day. They're going through all the things they could do. So we're kind of back in this, like we have been since chapter 31 in the promotion. 32 through chapter 40 is more of the Socratic method, but dealing with how do you be a good leader of multiple plants of an entire division when you're hovering over all these things. They talk about all the traps that you can fall into, but I'll balance it out that other than those 5 rules that were called out earlier in chapters 36 and 37, there's no kind of clear Goldrattian answer of how do you be a good leader at that next level where you're over multiple sites. They repeat those 5 rules, but again, in many ways, this chapter is pretty unfulfilling. They do a lot of talking about how the things that you do to make change management work, such as looking for ways to get teams to get small wins, wind up becoming traps because the small wins then become the priority and the focus of the teams, and they look to get metrics that show that small wins are happening rather than taking on the role of real leaders, backing up and saying, hey, what is it that I want this system to perform? What are the 3 metrics that matter to me the most, and how do I get my team to achieve them? So you can really wrap the book up after chapter 31. Chapters 32 and beyond are really kind of the advanced, kind of more leadership, more change management, and they don't have quite the resounding finality to the guidance that you get. There isn't the nice bow on top of, hey, find the constraint, work the constraint, unburden the constraint, and good things happen. Here it becomes more, it's almost an epistemological problem of where do you begin? How do you define what it is that you're trying to do, and what are the real goals of leadership? This is a great book. Go read it yourself. Go listen to it to yourself. Every day that you get the chance to work with the theory of constraints is an opportunity to make the world around you as well as your own life a little bit better.